Welcome to the 14th Annual International Education Summit and happy International Education Week. My name is Michelle Harpenow and I'm the Executive Director with the World Affairs Council. Welcome to this week's teacher training on using Sustainable Development Goals to your advantage with Joshua Amstutz and Jennifer Haller of Winton Woods High School. This will be a teaser for a longer remote workshop coming in February. For those of you who don't know the World Affairs Council, I want to share with you briefly about our work. The World Affairs Council has been around since 1923. We are a chapter organization and there are 90 chapters around the United States. Here in Cincinnati, our main mission is to focus on international awareness and cultural understanding. We focus on global education, serving students ages 3 all the way to adult. We believe that everyone should be a continuous learner. We obviously also work with teachers. In addition, we work directly with the U.S. Department of State's International Visitor Leadership Program, where we bring over 300 international visitors to Cincinnati, now virtually doing exchanges, to promote people-to-people diplomacy efforts between the United States and about 70 countries around the world. In addition to this, we also bring to our community foreign affairs webinars now, focusing on hot topics that are going on so that we can help inform our community. This year, of course, we are hosting our very first virtual International Education Summit. Thanks to our regional World Affairs Councils in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, we have planned not 1 day, but 5 days of events on the theme of peace and justice. Not only will we be reaching more students throughout the region, but the world, and we have opened the events up to include teacher workshops, as well as community-wide events for all to enjoy. Now I'd like to take a moment to thank all of the people and our sponsors who make this week possible. First, I would like to thank our ambassador sponsor, Northern Kentucky University. I would also like to thank our diplomat sponsors, the Brueggemann Center at Xavier University, Foreign Policy Leadership Council, Miami University Global Initiatives, and University of Cincinnati. It is truly amazing the support that comes out of this, and our supporters make this event free for everyone this week, so thank you so much. I also want to thank our annual supporters for their support all year round to make this work possible. Now I will briefly introduce our speakers. Joshua Amstutz is the Academy of Global Studies Coordinator at Winton Woods High School. Jennifer Haller is an Instructional Technology Consultant with Hamilton County Educational Service Center and a Google certified trainer.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to endeavor to help introduce you to 3 main resources as they relate to enhancing global education in your classroom through something called the SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals. Now, many of you may have heard of the Sustainable Development Goals before. They're what the United Nations came up with after the Millennium Development Goals, such that they want us to meet these goals by 2030. These goals range from life on land to sustainable cities and communities to the goal of no hunger around the world. And each of the goals is very dense, and it's not until you unpack these goals that you can truly appreciate the format that you can introduce these goals into your classroom curriculum, not just from a math perspective, because I am, of course, a math teacher, but also from a history perspective, a language perspective, as well as any other subject area you could possibly think of. Now, counter to this is the use of instructional technology in the classroom. So Jen Haller is going to be doing this workshop with me so that we can not only share with you these resources, but also share with you some amazing instructional technology tools that she has used with teachers, both in my district as well as others, to be able to enhance kids as well as teachers' understanding of the Sustainable Development Goals, global education, and education in general. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to present with you one of the documents, which is going to be just a general idea of the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and kind of showcase this quick little website, show you some pieces and parts of it that are very informative that you can incorporate into your classroom. And then Jen is going to talk about an instructional tech tool to be able to help you to be able to do that as well. Okay, so this website here, which is going to be linked on something called a Padlet that you're going to be using, is just a general hub of information for the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, at first glance, the website may be very, very cumbersome to be able to look through and to understand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and showcase a couple of different items about this website. First off, if you scroll down, you see each of the goals here in these nice little tiles. Now, this is just a brief description of what each of the 17 goals are, and it brings you to more information with respect to that goal itself. What I'm going to choose to do is scroll down here until I get to goal number 9, and I'm going to go ahead and click on more information. So let's say that I am a teacher and I'm looking to incorporate some information about industry, innovation, and infrastructure in the context of my classroom. What I would do first is I would go to this website and I would make myself knowledgeable of what that goal is so that I can be able to plan accordingly for my students and prepare activities around understanding the goal and the context of my content area. If I'm a math teacher, I'm probably going to be looking for the innovative strategies that are described in this goal. If I'm an English teacher, I'd be looking for what kind of documents are available to read, what kind of literature is there around this goal, and each subject area really has something that they can use in the context of this information. The website to navigate is very easy once you click on the goal itself. It first gives you a glance of the goal itself. It describes some information about it. If you go down to the bottom here, though, there are 3 things that I want to be able to bring to your attention. First are the 2 infographics. Now, I can say for my students, these are the most helpful for the kids understanding not only what the goal is, but what it actually means, what they're looking for. So if I were to click on this infographic here, it's going to give me some wonderful visuals which represent why the goal exists and what's currently happening in the world. The other thing that I really like is that it talks about before COVID-19 and the COVID-19 implications. Many of these goals were on the verge of having an amazing support and being met. However, due to COVID-19, there's been a lot of backtracking on the goals. So if you look here at the top portion versus the bottom portion, it looks like, COVID has really impacted everything with relation to each of the Sustainable Development Goals. In the context of our teaching, that opens up some great discussions on what was happening pre-COVID-19 and what was happening post-COVID-19. The other thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to showcase to you another one of the documents here. So give me 1 second. Oh, not that one. There we go. And if I go down here, I'm going to go to, specifically, I'm going to go to the goal line targets. So in the context of my classroom, once I get a snapshot of what the goal is about and what I want to incorporate into my math classroom with respect to the goal, what I like to do is I like to create a target for the students to be able to focus on. This target is really the purpose of why I'm incorporating this goal into the activity I'm doing or the project I'm doing. So maybe I'll tell the students, hey, listen, I want you to go to this website, read the infographic, and I want you to focus on goal 9.2 and maybe take a screenshot of that and put it somewhere so you can constantly refer back to it. I might also say, hey, listen, I want you to go down to goal 9C. I want you to tell me what this means with respect to your knowledge and information. When you read it, can you comprehend that and tell me what it means? So this website is a really great hub of information to get started on planning an activity or a project. In summation, the first portion here is the information about the SDG itself. The second portion is the infographics that help make visual representations of why the goal exists. And then the last piece here that I really like are these goal 9 targets, which in essence are the learning targets for that lesson or for that activity, or for that project. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Jen Haller so she can describe a really great tech tool that you can use to house all of this information.
All right, thanks, Josh. And so what I'm going to do is share my screen and show you this tech tool that Josh did mention as he was talking about that. But this is Padlet, and Padlet has been around for quite a while. They have unfortunately changed some of their pricing modules, but you can use Padlet for free and make it work for you. So what it is it's a really great collaboration tool for students and teachers. And so this is an example of what Josh and I had created for a Padlet for people to collaborate on. And so this would have been using SDGs to your advantage. And this is where you were going to compile you could compile all of your information from the session. Now, this one is set up in columns, which makes it really easy for students. of all ages, but especially our younger students, so that things aren't all over the place. And I'll show you that in a second. But basically, if you were assigned SDG 1, okay, this would be your column. And you have this little plus sign here. And basically what this allows you to do is post things onto the Padlet. And when I say things, I mean lots of things, and I will show you. So it's kind of like putting Post-it notes onto a bulletin board, but we're just doing it virtually, okay, or digitally. So if I were in SDG 1 and using this column, I would hit the plus sign. And so I get this little, like I call it like a Post-it note, and you could put the title. A lot of times I have students put their names there so that I know whose it is, okay? And then you can write something. So if I put my name here, and then I could put text here, and you can see that as I'm typing, it would go on, and I would have that Post-it. Now, what's really cool about Padlet are the other things you can put on here other than just text. Okay, so you have some main buttons right here on top. So I can upload an item. So if I have something saved to my computer and I want to upload it, like a PDF or an image or something like that, I could do that. I can put a link to a website. So even if I wanted to link to Josh's website that he was using for the linking the SDGs to your advantage, if I do that, let me just show you real quick. So I can just, I'm just going to grab that link from another web page. I could put that, hit save, and check that out. We'll open it. Okay, so I'm going to go to the other items here. So we just did the link. I can do a Google search right in here. So if you notice, it pops up over on the right-hand side. I can search images, videos, GIFs, audio, and just search the web. So Josh, what image could I search for something for my SDG 1? Help me out here.
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So if you look back to SDG 1, that's no poverty. So, maybe it's a screenshot of one of the most impoverished countries in the world. So maybe a screenshot of something like, let me see here. I'm looking into our next resource of like Bangladesh.
I did just type in poverty just to see if I could pop something up here.
Yep.
So maybe we click on this picture. All I did is click on that, guys, and look, it pops that picture right into my Padlet post. Thanks, Josh, for your help on that. So you've got image. We did that Google search image. Now I've got, I could snap a picture. So if I wanted to do it like of me or something that I'm holding, that's what the camera's for. Okay. If you click on the 3 dots, which is always more, check out all these things. So now it's going to have the first 4 that are on there: upload, link, Google, and snap. That's what we just did. But look at all the other things that I could also add to my Padlet posts. Film. So I could capture video right from my camera. I could do an audio recording. So I could record my voice talking about this picture or talking about the goal. Okay. My SDG there. I can record my screen. So I can even do a screencast like we're doing now. And you could post that into Padlet. If you have a tablet or a touchscreen, you can draw. So maybe if I want to talk about the SDG and maybe a location where there is extreme poverty, I could actually use Google Map and place that on there as well. And then I can also link to other Padlets. So this is just a really, really robust tool. It's awesome. It's great for teachers to use with their classes. I created this. So like a teacher would create it and then share it with the students. The students don't need to have accounts. It is great with using with students because it meets the requirements for privacy and students online. So it works really, really well. It's got a lot of great backgrounds that you can make with that. So just to take you back, this is what it kind of looks like, as long as I'm still showing my screen okay. And when you hit make a Padlet, you just have a ton of different choices. So I chose this shelf down here in the bottom left corner. That gave it like those columns, those nice columns to use. Okay. And then, but you do have wall. And that's where kind of things just go sporadic. You can do canvas, stream, a grid, back channel. You can even do just a map where you could just place and maybe wanted to do one of these goals and just have your students mark them on the map with a little bit of information to go with it. You can also make timelines, which is really great. Okay. So it's really simple to do, really simple to use. If I jump back into this one, if you look up in this top right-hand corner, this share, this is all I do is copy this link to my clipboard. And then for those of you who use a learning management system like Schoology, Google Classroom, Canvas, anything like that, you can just put that link in that learning management system for your students to click on, and boom, everybody starts working together and collaborating.
All right, team. So what I'm going to do is share again my screen, and I'm going to go ahead and show you another tool that is amazing with respect to utilizing in the classroom. So let's say, just for context, that you've chosen an SDG, a sustainable development goal that you want to go ahead and introduce to your students. Let's say that you have an idea of what that activity is going to be. You have the goal that you want to really focus on for that activity. The next piece that we've noticed is when students are given a goal to focus on, normally the best way to be able to represent that goal is to be able to have a country that they represent. So maybe if you have a class of 20 students, you break them up into groups of 4, and there are 5 countries represented. Well, oftentimes it's very open-ended, and it's hard for the kids to really focus on a country that's even impacted by the Sustainable Development Goal itself. So I really like this resource because it really helps to guide the students. So notice on the left, we have all the goals. We have no poverty, we have zero hunger, good health and well-being. I'm going to stick with goal number 9, just because that's the goal I introduced you all on the original website. And notice here on the right-hand side, we have all these different countries. So if the goal is quality education, I have the countries with the poorest education system who are in the most need of that goal being met. Or, goal number 7, affordable and clean energy, I have the countries with the dirtiest energy, or the countries that need to be impacted the most by that goal. So what I'm going to do here is just show you one of these websites that's linked, and I'm going to do it with respect to industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And I'm going to click on the countries with the poorest infrastructure. So if I go and click on that link there, I do have my countries with the poorest infrastructure. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. It gives me just a brief synopsis of what poor infrastructure means, because a lot of students won't know that offhand. They're going to need some literature to read about it. But then if you go ahead and you scroll down, it then gives us a list. And this is almost like David Letterman's top 10. This is like number 10 on the list of the poorest infrastructure countries. So I have Myanmar, Burma. And then it gives me just a brief snapshot of why specifically that country is listed as the 10th worst in the entire world. 9, Libya. And then it gives me a description of why exactly that country is not meeting that goal, why it has poor infrastructure. So I really like this list of resources because it gives more guidelines for students to be able to scroll through these countries. And if I'm a student, I would scroll through each of them, Lebanon, Burundi, Burkina Faso, and I would choose a country that really connects with me that I can then focus on for the project. So let's say I choose Burkina Faso because it has such terrible infrastructure with respect to its transportation system, its generation of electricity. That would then be kind of like my forefront. So I would have the goal that I'm trying to meet from the SDG, from the introduction of the project or activity, and now I have my specific focus. I want to know how that goal from the Sustainable Development Goal, that target, relates to the country of Burkina Faso. And this is just yet another wonderful series of resources that allow us to be able to help students to pinpoint their focus on global education. What I'm now going to do is pass it off to Jen so that she can talk about a resource that you can utilize in the context of a classroom to be able to compile a list of these countries with respect to your sustainable development goal if you are focusing on just one goal for a project. So Jen, I'll hand it off to you.
Sounds great. Thanks, Josh. Okay, so this tool, and actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, but that country that you actually chose, that you said if you chose it to focus on, was Burkina Faso?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Help me out remember that, because I've really never even heard of that location before. And that's why this next tool is really so great, because it's going to help us locate where that is on Earth. Okay. So I know a lot of people have know about Google Earth. Google Earth is a great tool to actually look at different locations, but really I think a lot of people just really know it just to kind of to what's the word I'm trying to look for? Just observe, but they don't know about the piece that Google Earth has. Screen correctly here. Let's do this. All right, so that a lot of people don't know about that Google Earth has is it's called Google Earth Project, and it's fantastic. So many more teachers use, but what people really need to understand, Google Earth is really a processing hog, and that's what I call it. It requires a lot, so hopefully my doesn't become on, but just be aware this image on here and to really tap into Google Earth and into the map. Okay, so as we go through here, this is just an example of a completed project already. It's actually not completed, they're still working on it. And as you guys can actually see, they've got the SDGs on here. So Josh would be kind of proud. They've got all of them on here. And then notice that each pin has a color. And so what the students had to do was go and mark the different locations across the world based on that SDG. Okay. And so you can add a whole bunch of stuff on here. And I know I'm going to click on the wrong ones, but if I click on Ethiopia, what happens is you can insert pictures, which this one does not have, but I did get text. Ethiopia is less poor, but it still is poor. Okay. So students can add information, add pictures, add text. There we go. How about that one? So when you click on the pin, you can, like I said, add images like this one. You've got SDG 6 Uganda, and then some information. And so just to let you know, on this particular project, this was a project that about 100 students were working on. So you can have, because this is Google, it's Google Earth, there were 100 students working on this Google Earth project at the same time. So pretty cool. And they were, learning a lot as they were going through, adding to this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let me go in here and show you that when you're on Google Earth, okay, you have this menu over here on the left, you have projects right here. So if you click on projects, okay, actually, you can go into present mode. And so it will jump through. This is if you don't want to jump around. This is a little bit different. We don't, this one's kind of hard because it will go through, you can click because they put all the goals in the middle of the ocean. And so you can just click on the arrow down here and it will jump from one to the next. And so it ties SDG 1. And so you can see the Earth move as it goes through and it jumps to India. And then again, I'm clicking on the arrow down the bottom. So I can go that way through the whole thing, or I can actually, pull up the table of contents over here and I can actually click on them and go through it, myself if I don't want to have the auto jump and all of that. Okay.
And one thing, Jen, if I can, that I would like to add is that this is just such an amazing way to help students visualize the world and where the problems exist. Because the point of this project was to list all these top 10 countries that are in the most need of these SDGs to be met, to see what areas of the world are the most impacted. So if you look at the continent of Africa, there are quite a few dots that you see. If you scroll up to Europe, though, for instance, there's maybe only 1 or 2 dots that you see with respect to countries who are doing poorly at one of the Sustainable Development Goals. So it not only helps you to understand exactly what the SDGs are and where these countries are located, but also what areas of the world are most in need. And then this helps to answer the question of why are they most in need? Well, some countries are doing poorly at multiple sustainable development goals. And that's the purpose of it, is to really give an introduction to what these SDGs are, what areas of the world are being affected. And then of course, with our next resource, we're going to guide into what we can do to take action on those SDGs.
Awesome. I won't go through, thanks Josh for chiming in on that. I won't go through, exactly how to do it, but when you're in projects, you get this new project and you can kind of get started creating, and it's very, very simple. It's just dropping a pin and then it will walk you through. Do you want to add pictures? Do you want to add text? All of that. And like I said, because it is Google, you can add collaborators as well.
All right, team. So our last and final resource we're going to share with you here kind of brings everything together. So our first little mini workshop was on a website that introduced the SDGs in general. That's where you can read about the SDGs, you can get project ideas, you can focus on maybe a specific target or indicator from SDG. The second workshop was around that Google document, which linked all the countries that are in the most need of help for these SDGs to be met, so that you can give students a focus point for the project or activity. You know, represent Lebanon, represent Burundi, represent the country of Libya. This last tool is really putting everything together because it allows us to be able to take action on these sustainable development goals. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen one last time here so I can showcase this last goal or this last activity or tool. So this tool is 170 daily actions. And what I really like about this document here is that the purpose is to transform our world via the SDGs. Each slide represents each of the SDGs. So I have this slide right here, which is representing SDG 1, no poverty, 2, 0 hunger, 3, good health and well-being. And what each of these tiles are there actual action steps that a real life person can take no matter where they live in the world. So if I scroll down to our focus point, which was SDG number 9, I see that there's multiple different ways that I could be able to take action. And this is really the why behind why we're learning this. So in the context of any kind of activity or project, you know, if the students are understanding the SDG, they're understanding their country they're representing, they always need to have that final take action piece. And that's what this really focuses on, is the take action. And what I really like is each of these tiles represents a new and different way that students can take action. So here we have, you know, host a small event for people to donate their unused working phones and turn in to raise the awareness about the lack of infrastructure for communication. So each of these different tiles here is what I call them, are opportunities for students to take action. And generally what I have my students do is at the culmination of a project, or sometimes even at the beginning of a project, they automatically go to this document and they choose the tile on which they need to focus. And throughout the activity or throughout the project, we consistently refer back to this tile so that the students can focus on the piece that really is really important of taking action on their sustainable development goal. The nice thing is that all of these are very, very different. We have things running from an event to immersing yourself in a group or organization, to fundraising for projects, to just keeping up to date with the latest technologies and innovation. And what I like is it offers students the opportunity of choice. They can look at these different tiles, they can choose the focus or take action piece that they want to have on their sustainable development goal as it relates to the activity or project, and they can demonstrate their take action piece at the end of the activity or project. And I just really love it because it's a very concise, put together document of take action pieces on each of the sustainable development goals. So there's multiple ways that you can take action on these goals. In some cases, with a lot of these, there's some type of publication you need to put out to the community, or some type of presentation you need to put together for an event or an organization. So what I'm going to do is hand it off to Jen Heller here so she can describe a couple of ways that students can actually do that on their own with minimal time, meaning that the applications, although they seem like they're going to be really intense, are actually very easy to use for students to put together some type of presentation or demonstration of learning around one of these take action pieces. Go ahead, Jen.
All right. Thank you, Josh. All right. So for this last one, and I'm really hoping that my internet connection works okay. So as Josh was saying, if you want students to create a take action piece to show their knowledge, share their understanding, put something together, we've got a really great tool that can allow them to do that in multiple ways. And so what I'm going to do is show you one way that we've had students do that is to make a public service announcement. Okay, so they make a video. And previously, when we didn't have some video editing tools, we use Adobe Spark. And Adobe Spark is a free tool. It's a great tool. One of the things you can make is a video. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Hopefully it will play and you guys can hear this. So please let me know if we don't. I would appreciate that. And I will go through this. I won't play like the whole thing. I'll just play just a little bit.
report found blacks to be killed at 3 times the rate of whites or other minorities.
In 2015, police killed at least 102 unarmed Black people.
This averages out to nearly 2 Black people killed each week.
61% of police officers admitted to not always reporting violations that involve the abuse of authority by fellow officers.
So now answer the question, do all lives really matter?
So that was a short one, so I decided to show the whole thing. Basically, so totally made by students. They used images, video, sound, and then did a narration over top of that. And again, that was created inside of Adobe Spark, which is a great, great tool. So this is what Adobe Spark looks like. And even as Josh said, you don't even have to make videos. You can do a lot of things, as you can even see. Their whole thing is tell your story with Spark. And so, again, I won't walk through the exact steps of how to do it, in depth or anything, but let me just show you real quick, little plus sign over here. So these are the different things that I can make. I can make a flyer, which again would be good if you're hosting an event or a fundraiser or something like that. Students can make a flyer. You can make a web page or video. These are really the top 3 that students are going to make. We really aren't going to do the branded graphic or the custom size graphic. But if I just show you the video real quick on how this kind of works, I'm going to skip that, start from scratch. They do have templates that you can, that students can use. I find that that's a little confusing for students because they forget to remove the suggested information on it. And so it kind of doesn't work that way. So really, I really like talking about this with students because I get them to understand exactly what a video is. And a video really is a compilation of screenshots, right? Or of still pictures, and we run them together and that makes a video. And so this, if students know how to use Google Slides or PowerPoint, they're going to know how to use the video feature in Adobe Spark. Because if you see down here across the bottom, basically each frame is an individual item that I work on. And then again, it runs together. Okay. So anytime you have a plus sign, you can insert something, video, text, photo. Icons are like stickers. We don't use that very often, but you have those. You really only have 4 different layouts that you can do over here on the right-hand side. You have themes, and basically these are, it puts everything together. Colors, font style, font size, how slides transition from one to the other, things like that. And what I really like about Adobe Spark in this is it packages it all together. And so really, even if you're not a very creative person, it looks really good, okay? But if you, now on the other hand though, if you are very, very creative and you like making things, Spark is a little limiting on that point. So you kind of do have to, kind of keep that in mind. You've got resize, and then you've got different music. So you can add your own music, or you can choose different music that they have. Okay. So if I stick with this just real quick, and let's do, like we're going to do the beginning, it would be title and text. And so you notice that I have different icons that have changed now. So I could put a photo as my background. And what I really like about this as well is I can use my own photos, or right here, this top one, find free photos. This is great for us and great for using with students to teach them about how you can't just go onto the internet and steal any picture and download it and save it for yourself. You have to, there's what we call Creative Commons. So they have to be licensed for you to use. Well, if you search inside of Adobe Spark, it's going to basically search them and pull up only Creative Commons licensed photos. So let's just do something just really nice here. Let's just do some, oops, I can't type, sorry, mountains, because I want you to see what this looks like. All right, and so we've got some nice images. And so I select one, and it's going to put it there in my background. Check that out. And then here, maybe I'm going to put my title, so I can hit the plus sign, and I can type, it would be whatever sustainable development goal or whatever I want to put in here. So even if I just type something, so you can see, we've been working on 9, and then maybe I put my name, as the byline there. Cool. Now, if I want to record and narrate over top, I've got this microphone right here. It is a press and hold. And so I record as long as I speak, I let go when I'm done. Okay. And so then basically I could just go down and I hit the little plus sign down here to make a new one, a new slide. I can choose, I love the split screen feature. so that I can put a picture video on one side and I can put text on the other. And so you just go on and you keep building and you make a nice little video. So very, very simple. Again, looks nice and polished when it's done, and easy for students to use. Real quick, if I do a flyer, again, maybe you are hosting or putting together a fundraiser and you want to get people to come. Lots of different things to choose from. Over here, you have some different templates that you can start with, which is really kind of cool. And then all of your features over here on the right, things that you can add. Again, here are your templates to choose from. You can work with the design, colors. I mean, just a ton of stuff that you can get into. So again, I can't emphasize enough that this is simple to use. And no matter what level student you have, it really makes a really nice finished product. And so I will stop sharing my screen here, pass it back over to Josh.
Cool. So we appreciate you attending this webinar. I just want to give a quick summation of everything we talked about here. And I love the fact that Jen had introduced the Adobe Spark video public service announcement around Black Lives Matter, because of course, you know, the theme of this year is social justice. So I would highly recommend, I would implore you here, I'm just going to go back real quick to some of the documents we had. I would implore you to go ahead and go to the SDGs. Go to SDG, the website that we shared with you. Go to 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions. Learn a little bit more about social justice. Learn about the targets and indicators that the world is trying to meet. Go to the second document. Visit Goal 16 here and find the countries that are being affected the most by trafficking, which is a huge piece of peace, justice, and strong institutions. And then, of course, students are always looking to take action. So go to the Take Action document, go to Goal 16, and see where we can actually have a take action piece on peace, justice, and strong institutions. A lot of students may think that just protesting, just making their voices known publicly or via the social media is the only way to go. But there's so many other things that students can be doing to take action on peace, justice, and strong institutions. So we appreciate your time. We appreciate you sticking with us, being able to investigate each of these different resources with us. What I'm going to do is hand it back over to Michelle Harpinaugh, and I will say that all of the resources that we have used and showed will be on the Padlet that Jen had originally presented with you all. So what we're going to do here is give you access to that. All the resources are going to be there, and we should be good to go. And we'll talk about next steps here after Michelle takes it from here.
Thank you, Josh and Jen. Wow, so many different resources. I was getting excited with Padlet. I thought that was a really fun resource I hadn't used or seen before. And, you know, I did want to mention that Winton Woods High School, thank you, is an academic member of the World Affairs Council. And so there are a lot of benefits that go with being an academic member. And, you know, if you're interested in thinking about that, we'd love to explore that with you. And we've been partnering with Winton Woods, oh my gosh, is it 10 years now, roughly?
Going on a decade.
Going on a decade. So, you know, there's a really good relationship that we have. And so I just really want to say thank you so much. We really value it here at the World Affairs Council. And Jen, it's so nice to meet you and hear all the fun tools that you can share. So really glad that we can collaborate this way. And I'm looking forward to, in 2021, also planning on doing a more in-depth training for everyone so that we can really dive into these different tools. As Josh mentioned, we're really scratching the surface. So do join us in 2021 and be on the lookout for that. So again, in closing, on behalf of World Affairs Council and Winton Woods, thank you so much for being here today.